Hello everyone, myself Bismi Picharian, Assistant Professor at Suresh Gyan Vihar University. Today I am going to discuss about the chemistry of the diuretics drugs. So learning objectives of this topic is this lesson will help the students to understand the mechanism of action and the uses of the diuretics, mainly the carbonic anhydrase inhibitors and the loop diuretics. So I am discussing the topic in this session, the carbonic anhydrase inhibitor diuretics and loop diuretics. Learning outcomes. After this lesson, students will be able to describe the SAR mechanism of action, uses of the diuretics drugs such as the carbonic anhydrase inhibitors and the loop diuretics. So, what are the diuretics? So, diuretic is defined as the drug that increases the rate of the urine formation. Okay, so the diuretics are the drug that increases the urine formation. The primary action of most diuretic is the direct inhibition of the sodium reabsorption. Okay, that increase the excretion. When the sodium reabsorption inhibited, at that time the excretion means the sodium excretion is increased at one or more of the four major sites of along the nephron. An increased sodium excretion is accompanied by anion like Cl, since NaCl is the major determinant of the extracellular fluid volume. Okay, so chloride, since the NaCl is the major determinant of the extracellular fluid. So the what these diuretics do, the diuretics they inhibit the sodium reabsorption, means that increase the sodium excretion. Okay, and this sodium excretion is accompanied with the Cl. Okay, and the NaCl is the major determinant of extracellular fluid volume. Diuretics reduces the extracellular fluid volume by decreasing total body NaCl content. Okay, so what this diuretic do? Diuretic reduce the extracellular fluid volume is that by decreasing total body NaCl content, because this sodium excreted with the chlorine, so the NaCl content of the body is decreased, and as well as the extracellular fluid volume is decreases. So the diuretics, what they do, the diuretics they inhibit the sodium reabsorption. When the sodium reabsorption is in, how they inhibit the sodium reabsorption? By increasing the excretion of the sodium. Okay, and this excretion of the sodium is with accompanied with Cl. Okay, and this NaCl is the major determinant of the extracellular fluid volume. Okay, so these diuretics, what they do, diuretics reduce the extracellular fluid volume by decreasing the sodium chloride content. Okay, how this sodium chloride content decrease? When this sodium excretion is increases, and the sodium excretion is accompanied by the Cl, or accompanied by like Cl. Okay, so NaCl content is reduced in the body with the help of the diuretics, and the urine rate is increased. Okay, urine formation is increased with the help of the diuretics. So there are four major sites along the nephron that are responsible for the reabsorption. Okay, there are four major sites are there in the nephron that are responsible for the reabsorption. So first site is proximal convoluted tubule, that is PCT. Okay, that is PCT, and that is here present, proximal convoluted tubule, that is here. An ascending loop of Henle. Okay, ascending loop of Henle. So that is, this is the ascending loop of Henle. Okay, ascending loop of Henle. This is the second site for reabsorption. Next is distal convoluted tubule. Okay, distal convoluted tubule, that is DCT. Okay, this is also responsible for the reabsorption. Site 4 name is late distal tubule and collecting duct. Okay, late distal tubule and collecting duct. So this is the collecting duct. Okay, so these four sites are responsible for the reabsorption. Okay, when the sodium's reabsorption is decreased, the excretion of the sodium is increases with chloride also. Okay, so these are the sites where the reabsorptions occur. Okay, So classification of the diuretics. So the site 1 diuretics, okay, carbonic anhydrase inhibitor. So this carbonic anhydrase inhibitor, they react at site 1, okay, and the example of the diuretic carbonic anhydrase inhibitors examples are acetazolamide, methazolamide, dichlorophenamide, chloroaminophenamide. So these are the example of the carbonic anhydrase inhibitor, and they act on the site 1, and the site 1 is here, the proximal convoluted tubule, that is PCT, and these drugs are active at this site. Next is I2 diuretics, that is loop diuretics, okay, that is high ceiling diuretics, and the examples are the furosemide, bumetanide, and ethacrynic acid. Okay, so these loop diuretics, where they act at the site 2, and the site 2 is loop of Henle. Okay, here the loop diuretics act. Okay, so next is the diuretics thiazides. Okay, the thiazide act at the site 3, and site 3 is DCT. Okay, distal convoluted tubule. Okay, and fourth one is site 4 diuretics, potassium sparing diuretics. Okay, and they act on at the fourth site, that is here collecting duct. Okay, late distal tubule and the late distal tubule, from here to collecting duct. Okay, so these are the classification of the diuretics. And next, so first one is carbonic anhydrase inhibitor. Examples of the carbonic anhydrase inhibitors are acetazolamide, methazolamide, dichlorophenamide, chloraminophenamide. Okay, and the next drug is diuretics, loop diuretics. Okay, and the examples of the loop diuretics are furosemide, bumetanide, and ethacrynic acid. And site 3 diuretics, that are thiazides, and the examples of the thiazides are chlorothiazide, benzthiazide, hydrochlorothiazide, hydroflumethiazide, bendroflumethiazide. Okay, so these all are the example of the thiazides. Okay, and the last one is the potassium sparing diuretics. And okay, and the examples are first one is sodium channel inhibitor, that is amiloride and triametrine. Okay, and the second one is aldosterone antagonist, that is spironolactone. So we will discuss about the carbonic anhydrase inhibitor and the loop diuretics here, today's topic. In this today's topic, we are going to discuss about the carbonic anhydrase inhibitor. In this we will see the how to synthesize this acetazolamide, and the mechanism of action, SAR of the carbonic anhydrase inhibitor, as well as the loop diuretics, we will see in today's class. So first one is carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. So this is also known as CA. Okay, that is carbonic anhydrase inhibitors are derived from the sulfonamide antibacterials. Okay, these carbonic anhydrase inhibitors are derived from the sulfonamide antibacterials. Okay, and the carbonic anhydrase inhibitor have an unsubstituted sulfonyl group, that is SO2NH2. Okay, in this carbonic anhydrase inhibitor, they have unsubstituted sulfonyl, that is SO2NH2 group. Okay, and the carbonic anhydrase inhibitors have a heterocycle ring, and some have benzene ring attached to the sulfonyl group. Okay, what the carbonic this is the chemistry of the carbonic anhydrase inhibitor. All the carbonic anhydrase inhibitor, they have an unsubstituted sulfonyl, that is SO2NH2 group, and they also have a heterocyclic ring, and some have benzene ring attached to this sulfonyl group. Accordingly, CA inhibit means carbonic anhydrase inhibitors have been divided into two groups. Okay, so depend upon the heterocyclic ring and the benzene cycling ring, we can divide the carbonic anhydrase into two: simple heterocyclic sulfonamides and meta-disulfonyl benzene derivatives. Okay, so here we are categorized into two groups: the simple heterocyclic sulfonamides and the meta-disulf sulfonyl benzene derivatives. So the mechanism of action, a common mechanism of action of the carbonic anhydrase diuretics. Okay, so this class of the diuretic inhibit carbonic anhydrase enzyme. Okay, what the name says, carbonic anhydrase inhibitor. Okay, carbonic anhydrase inhibitor means they inhibit the carbonic anhydrase enzyme. Okay, and this class of the diuretic inhibit the carbonic anhydrase enzyme in the membrane. Okay, and intracellularly in the proximal tubules, that causes the decreased reabsorption and increased excretion of the sodium bicarbonate and the potassium. Okay, sodium or bicarbonate and the potassium excretion is increased when the reabsorption is decreased in the proximal tubule, when this carbonic anhydrase enzyme is inhibited by the carbonic anhydrase inhibitor drugs. Okay, and so this is the common mechanism of action. This carbonic anhydrase inhibitor inhibit the enzyme called carbonic anhydrase. Due to the inhibition of the carbonic anhydrase, that decreases the reabsorption and increases the excretion of the sodium bicarbonate and the potassium. Okay, so this is the common mechanism of action of the carbonic anhydrase enzyme. And there are some adverse effect of this drug. So the main adverse effect of this drug is metabolic acidosis, hypokalemia. Hypokalemia means decreased potassium level, and decreased glomerular filtration rate, and the hypersensitivity reactions. These are the adverse effect or the side effect of this carbonic anhydrase enzyme. And let's discuss about the uses of the carbonic anhydrase enzyme. The major use in the treatment of the glaucoma. Okay, this carbonic anhydrase inhibitor we are using in the treatment of the glaucoma because it reduces the rate of formation of aqueous humor, thereby reducing the intraocular pressure. Okay, this carbonic anhydrase enzyme, what they do, they reduces the rate of the formation of the aqueous humor. Okay, and that because of that that reduces the intraocular pressure. So this is the common mechanism of action, common side effects, and the common uses of the carbonic anhydrase enzyme. Let's see the SAR of first category. Means we are divided the carbonic anhydrase divided into two groups, that is heterocyclic sulfonamide and the benzene sulfonamide. So we are seeing the SAR of the heterocyclic sulfonamides. So the acetosolamide is the most important compound of this group. Okay, acetosolamide and the methasolamide. So this is the sulfonyl group. Okay, NH2SO. This is the sulfonyl group, and this sulfonyl group is essential for the activity of the carbonic anhydrase inhibitor activity. This sulfonyl group is very essential. The sulfonyl nitrogen atom must be unsubstituted. Okay, this nitrogen atom must be unsubstituted. Substitution of the methyl group on one of the ring nitrogen retains carbonic anhydrase inhibitory activity. The example is methasolamide. Okay, in the acetosolamide we are not attaching any substituent at the end position. Okay, and the substitution, this N group must be unsubstituted. Okay, for the proper activity of the drug. But if we are introducing or if we are substituting any methyl group at the position at the end position, then that becomes methasolamide, and that have the property of the carbonic anhydrase inhibitory activity. Okay, so the heterocyclic sulfonamides are the acetosolamide and the methasolamide, and the sulfonyl group is essential for the activity of the carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. Okay, this is the important part of the activity. And the N group, okay, N nitrogen, sulfonyl nitrogen atom must be unsubstituted. If we are substituting any methyl group at the position, that also shows the activity of the carbonic anhydrase inhibitor activity. And the examples is methasolamide. Okay, methasolamide is also a carbonic anhydrase inhibitor drug. Okay, and same acetosolamide is also a carbonic anhydrase inhibitor. The moiety to which the sulfamyl group is attached must possesses aromatic character. Okay, aromatic character must possesses by the moiety that we are attaching to the sulfamyl group, that is this group. So this is the SAR of the heterocyclic sulfonamide. So this is very easy. This sulfamyl group is necessary for the activity of the carbonic anhydrase enzyme, and as well as the unsubstitution of the sulfamyl nitrogen group must be unsubstituted. If we are introducing any methyl group to the one of the N nitrogen atom, and that also shows the carbonic anhydrase enzyme activity, and the drug's name is methazolamide. If we are introducing any methyl group to the N group here, so that became methazolamide. Okay, and this is again coming under the family of heterocyclic sulfonamide carbonic anhydrase enzyme. And the moiety to which the sulfamyl group is attached must be possesses aromatic character. So this is the SAR of the heterocyclic sulfonamides. Next is SAR of the meta-disulfonyl benzenes. Okay, we are this carbonic anhydrase enzymes are categorized in two categories. So first one we have seen the heterocyclic sulfonamide, and this is the meta-disulfonyl benzene. Okay, some carbonic anhydrase drugs have sulfamyl group and some have the benzene ring. So in this group, in this category, the drugs have the benzene ring. Okay, so the parent 1,3-disulfonyl benzene is inactive. Okay, so this drug is a parent drug, and that is inactive. Okay, 1,3-disulfonyl benzene. Okay, 1,3-disulfonyl. Okay, disulfonyl benzene is inactive, but substituted analogs have diuretic activity. Okay, if we are introducing any chloride in this structure, that became activated. Okay, so the maximum diuretic activity is observed when the position 4 is substituted with BrCl CF3NO2. Okay, so the first position is here. Here is the first position. We are counting from here 1, 2, 3, 4. If we are introducing any chloride group, bromide group, CF3 group, NO2 group here, that shows the best diuretic or maximum diuretic activity. And unsubstituted sulfamyl moiety at the position 3 is essential for the activity. Okay, here we can't substitute any group because this is necessary. Unsubstituted sulfamyl group at the 3 position, that is necessary for this activity. Sorry. And replacement of the sulfamyl moiety at position 1 with an electrophilic group, that is carboxylic group, results in decreased carbonic anhydrase inhibitory activity. Okay, so if we are substituting or replacing, or we are replacing the sulfamyl group from the first position with an electronic group, that is, if that may be a carboxylic group, that results in the decrease in the carbonic anhydrase inhibitory activity. Okay, so this is very simple. The parent 1,3-disulfonyl benzene is inactive drug. Okay, when we are substituting any chloride group, bromide group at the 5th position or the 4th position, that increase the maximum diuretic activity. Okay, so one example of the this drugs when after the substituting, so here the substitute this disulfamyl benzene is substituted with a 2 chloride group at the 5th and 4th position. Okay, at the 5th and 4th position, chloride group is attached here. So this drug's name is dichlorphenamide. Okay, this is dichlorphenamide, and this parent drug is inactive. Okay, so if we are introducing any chloride group, bromide group, or CF3NO2 group at the 4th position, that shows the maximum diuretic activity. And this 3rd position sulfamyl group must be unsubstituted for the proper or maximum diuretic activity. Okay, and replacement of this sulfamyl group with carboxyl group, that decreases the carbonic anhydrase inhibitory activity. So these are the SAR of the heterocyclic sulfonamide and the meta-disulfonyl benzene group. So the carbonic anhydrase enzymes are the carbonic anhydrase inhibitor drugs are divided into two groups, that is heterocyclic sulfonyl group and the meta-disulfonyl benzene groups. Okay, in this heterocyclic sulfamide group, there is this group is sulfonyl group is necessary. Okay, and the nitrogen group, the nitrogen atom must be unsubstituted. If we are substituting any small group, means CS3 group, that again that shows the carbonic anhydrase inhibitory activity. And when we are substituting here CS3 group, that became the methazolamide. Okay, and that methazolamide and acetazolamide both shows the activity, carbonic anhydrase inhibitor activity. And next category is meta-disulfonyl benzene. So in this benzene ring is there. Okay, and there are two sulfonyl group. Okay, SNO2 H2, and this third position sulfonyl group must be unsubstituted. And if we are replacing any carboxyl group, if we are replacing this sulfonyl group with the carboxyl group, that decreases the carboxy anhydrase inhibitors. And if we are introducing any chloride group, bromide group, CF3 group at the position 4, that shows the maximum activity of the diuretics. So these are the important part of this diuretics, the SAR of these two categories. So our first drug is acetazolamide. Okay, acetazolamide structure is this. The sulfonyl group is here, and CO2 NH2 here, and this NHCO CS3 here. So this is the structure of the acetazolamide. Okay, and this is the heterocyclic drug, and the acetazolamide belongs the class of the drug known as the carbonic anhydrase inhibitor. So we are still learning the carbonic anhydrase inhibitor. We know that the acetazolamide is coming under the class of the carbonic anhydrase inhibitor. Okay, and we have already seen the SAR of the heterocyclic carbonic anhydrase inhibitor drug. Let's see the synthesis of the going to see the synthesis of the acetazolamide. So for the synthesis of the acetazolamide, we need hydrazine hydrate, NH2 dot H2O. This is the hydrazine hydrate and ammonium thiocyanate. Okay, when these two drug reacts, the product forms 1,2-bis thiocarbamyl hydrazine. Okay, 1,2-bis thiocarbamyl hydrazine, and after that this cyclization happens here. Okay, this become one cycle form. Okay, this become in one cycle form. So the cyclization occurs. Okay, and this forms this structure. Okay, and after that, when this reacted with the CH3COCl, and that formed the one product, this is this. Okay, means the H and HCl removes from here, and this connected to the N atom. Okay, and this product this form. After that, Cl2 oxidation of this product results this product. Okay, so this one Cl comes here and one HCl removes. Okay, so this is this product is formed. After that, the alkylation of this product, we will get our acetazolamide drug. Okay, so this is the synthesis of the acetazolamide drug. Okay, so in this reaction, this NH2 here, NH2. Okay, after that, this H2O removes from here, and this NH comes here, then SCN. Okay, so this this form 1,2-bis thiocarbamyl hydrazine. After the how the cyclization happens, this NH2, okay, NH3 removes from here, and it became in a cyclic form. Okay, after this acylation, what they do, how the reaction happens, this Cl and one H from this NH2. Okay, that HCl removes, and this CH3CO binds with N group here. Okay, so it became CH3CO CHN and same remaining cycle. After that, this reacted with the chlorine. Okay, and at that time the and oxidation also happens in this product. Okay, so remaining product will same. Okay, remaining product will same. Here the reaction happens, SO2Cl comes here. Okay, SO2Cl comes here, and H2O that removes. Okay, after that this product goes in the alkylation process. Okay, and that time what happens, this remaining portion will remain same, and here the reaction happens, SO2Cl. Okay, SO2 will remain same. Okay, HCl removes from here, and NH2 come here. Okay, NH2 attached with this SO2, and this is the structure of the acetosolamide. So this is the way we can synthesize the acetosolamide drug. Okay, so this is the synthesis of the acetosolamide, and this is the very important portion of this diuretics. Let's see the mechanism of action of the acetosolamide. Acetosolamide is the carbonic anhydrase inhibitor. Okay, and that means this drug works to cause an accumulation of the carbonic acid by preventing its breakdown. Okay, that prevents the breakdown of the carbonic acid. Okay, and that carbonic acid accumulated. Okay, so the drug works to cause an accumulation of the carbonic acid by preventing its breakdown, and that results in the lower blood pH given the increased carbonic acid, which has reversible reaction into the bicarbonate and a hydrogen ion. Okay, so this is the mechanism of action. Means the acetosolamide is a carbonic anhydrase inhibitor. That means the drug works to cause an accumulation of carbonic acid by preventing its breakdown. Okay, that this acetosolamide, what they do, they accumulate the carbonic acid by preventing its breakdown, and accumulation of the carbonic acid that lower the blood pH, because this is acid. Okay, so that lower the blood pH and given increased carbonic acid that has the reversible reaction into bicarbonate and the hydrogen ion. And the uses of the acetosolamide is used with other medicines to reduce the edema. Okay, acetosolamide is used with other medicine to reduce the edema and to help to control seizures in certain types of the epilepsies. Okay, so acetosolamide is given to treat in the treatment of the edema as well as the to control the seizures in the certain type of the epilepsy. And our next drug is methazolamide. Okay, so same like the 1 minute. So okay, same like the acetazolamide structure. Okay, and in this methazolamide there is one extra group, that is CH3 group. Rest is acetazolamide structure. Okay, here in this methazolamide there is one CH3 group is attached, so this is known as methazolamide. And methazolamide is a class of the medication called carbonic anhydrase inhibitor. Okay, so this is again the carbonic anhydrase inhibitor, and this is again the heterocyclic carbonic anhydrase inhibitor. Okay, heterocyclic. Okay, so methazolamide is this, and the mechanism of action is methazolamide is a potent inhibitor of the carbonic anhydrase. Okay, this methazolamide inhibits the carbonic anhydrase enzyme, and the inhibition of the carbonic anhydrase enzyme in the ciliary process of the eye that decreases the aqueous humor secretion, and that slow the formation of the bicarbonate ions with the reduction in sodium and the fluid transport. So what this methazolamide do? Methazolamide is a potent inhibitor of the carbonic anhydrase enzyme. Okay, and because of that inhibition of the carbonic anhydrase enzyme, that in the ciliary process of the eye that decreases the aqueous humor secretions. Okay, and by slowing the formation of the bicarbonate ions with subsequent reduction in the sodium and fluid transport. So this is the mechanism of action of the methazolamide. So when we are learning the diuretics, so we have to remember the structure of the acetazolamide. Okay, acetazolamide structure we have to remember. With the acetazolamide structure, we have to introduce one methyl group, so that became methazolamide. So these both drugs are very easy to learn. This is the mechanism of action, and let's see the uses of this drug. So the methazolamide is used in the treatment of the chronic open angle glaucoma and acute angle closure glaucoma. Okay, so this drug is used in the treatment of the glaucoma. And our next drug is the dichlorphenamide. Okay, so dichlorphenamide is coming under in the benzene ring. Okay, so there are two type of the category. That first one is heterocyclic sulfonamides, and second one is the benzene. Okay, meta 1,3 benzene sulfonamide. Okay, so this is coming under this that benzene ring. Dichlorphenamide belongs to a class of drugs known as carbonic anhydrase inhibitor. Okay, in this structure there is a one benzene ring, and sulfonamide group is there at 1 and 3rd position. Okay, 1, 2, 3 and 4. In the 4th position and the 5th position there are two chloride group. Okay, so this is the structure of the dichlorphenamide. Okay, and this at the first substitute. Okay, as the this sulfonamide group. Okay, at the first sulfonamide group, we can't add any substituent here. Okay, because this is necessary. This is unsubstituted sulfonamide group at the first position, that is necessary for the carbonic anhydrase activity. Okay, and for the 4th position, one chloride group or the bromide group. Okay, that will increase the activity of the drug. So here two chloride group is there at the 4th position and the 5th position. And the mechanism of action. Okay, mechanism of action, the carbonic anhydrase inhibitors reduces the intraocular pressure by partially suppressing the secretion of aqueous humor. Okay, so what this carbonic anhydrase do? The carbonic anhydrase inhibitor reduce the intraocular pressure by partially suppressing the secretion of aqueous humor. Okay, and although the mechanism by which they do this is not fully understood. Okay, so the carbonic anhydrase inhibitor reduces the intraocular pressure by partially suppressing the secretion of the aqueous humor. And evidence suggests that the HCO3 ions are produced in the ciliary body by hydration of the carbon dioxide under the influence of the carbonic anhydrase, diffuse into the posterior chamber, which contain more Na plus and the HCO3 ion that does plasma and consequently is hypertonic. Water is then attracted to the posterior chamber by osmosis, resulting in a drop in the pressure. Okay, so what the evidence suggests, the HCO3 ions are produced in the ciliary body, produces the HCO3 ions. Okay, by how they produce? By hydration of the carbon dioxide. Okay, HCO3 is produced by in the ciliary body by the hydration of the carbon dioxide under the influence of the carbonic anhydrase. Okay, under the influence of the carbonic anhydrase enzyme, and that diffuses into the posterior chamber. This HCO3 diffuses into the posterior chamber, which contain more Na plus than HCO3, and that does plasma and consequently is hypertonic. Water is then attracted to the posterior chamber by the osmosis, and that results in the drop in the pressure. Some uses are there. This is used in the treatment of chronic simple glaucoma, secondary glaucoma, and in acute angle closure glaucoma, where delay of the surgery is desired in order to lower intraocular pressure. So this is the these two are the carbonic anhydrase. Three drugs we have discussed here. Okay, so these are the carbonic anhydrase inhibitor, and the carbonic anhydrase inhibitor we are divided again into the two category. First one is heterocyclic sulfonamides, and second one is 1,3 meta benzene sulfonamides. Okay, so the example of the 1,3 meta benzene sulfonamide example is dichlorophenamide, and other two drugs are the acetazolamide and the methazolamide. Okay, acetazolamide and the methazolamide are the example of the heterocyclic sulfonamides. So our next category is the side 2 diuretics, that is loop diuretics or high ceiling diuretics. Okay, loop diuretics or high ceiling diuretics, diuretics that produces peak diuresis than other diuretics. Okay, the diuretics that produce peak diuresis than other diuretics and act distinctly on renal tubule function are called loop diuretics or high ceiling diuretics. Okay, what the loop diuretics? The diuretic that produces peak diuresis than other diuretics and act distinctly on renal tubule function are called as loop diuretics or high ceiling diuretics. And there are three major classes of the loop diuretics are organic mercurials, sulfonamide derivatives, and third, sorry, there are two classifications, sorry, there are two major classes: organic mercurial, sulfonamide derivatives. So the example of the organic mercurials are the chlormerodrin, mercaptomerin, mercelisanol. Okay, and the sulfonamide derivatives are furosemide and bumetadine. Okay, sorry, bumetanide. So here we are seeing, we are going to learn the organic mercury. What are the organic mercurials? Okay, the mercurials diuretics essential. Okay, this is the SAR of the organic mercurials. The mercurial diuretics essentially contain Hg++ in an organic molecule. Okay, they should contain Hg++ in an organic molecule. The organic mercurial have a number of the serious limitations. Okay, when given orally, they cannot be relied on the illicit diuresis because of the poor erratic absorption. Okay, when we are giving the organic mercurials orally, that shows the poor diuresis. And after the prenatal administration, there is 1 or 2 hour lags in the onset of the diuresis. Okay, when we are giving the perinatal administration, there is a lag. The drug act only after the 1 or 2 hours after administration of the drug. Their ability to trigger a diuretic response depends on the acid base status of the individuals. Okay, their ability to trigger a diuretic response depends on the acid base status of the individual, and they are cardiotoxic and the nephrotoxic. So we can't use this this much. We can't use this organic mercurial because they are cardiotoxic as well as the nephrotoxic drug. Next drug is sulfonamide derivatives. Okay, so the sulfonamide derivatives, these agents are 5-sulfonyl benzoic acid derivatives. Examples are furosemide and the bumetanide. Okay. Okay, so these agents are 5-sulfonyl benzoic acid derivatives, and the examples are the furosemide, bumetanide. Okay, so these are the examples. So in this, the furosemide, there are two series of the 5-sulfonyl benzoic acid derivatives. Okay, and that differ in the nature of the functional group that can be substituted at 2 and 3 position. Okay, so these two are the 5-sulfonamide benzoic acid. Okay, this is the 5-sulfonamide. Okay, in both furosemide and the bumetanide. Okay, bumetanide and the furosemide both have the sulfonamide benzoic acid group. Okay, so at the in the furosemide there is one amino benzene. Okay, amino benzoic acid is there, and this bumetadine, there is 3 amino benzoic acid is there. Okay, so the 5-sulfonyl 2 amino benzoic acid is this 5-sulfonyl aminobenzoic acid is the furosemide. Okay, furosemide, and 5-sulfomide, 3-aminobenzoic acid. Okay, 3-aminobenzoic acid is bumetanate. And the structural activity relationship, okay, the substituent at the one position must be acidic. Okay, the substituent at the one position, that should be acidic, and the carboxylic group provides the optimal diuretic activity, but other groups such as tetrazole impart good activity. And the sulfomide group at the position 5 is essential for optimal diuretic activity, and the activating group at the 4th position can be Cl, CF3, as in the thiazide group diuretics. Better activity was observed when these groups have been replaced by phenoxy, alkoxy, aniline, benzyl moieties. And the substitutions possible on the 2-amino group in the 5-sulfonamol 2-amino-benzoic acid derivative is limited in the order furyl, benzyl, thionyl, methyl only. And in case of 5-sulfonyl 3-amino-benzoic acid, the 3-amino group can be widely substituted without much change in the activity. So this is the structural activity. Let's see, we are going to see some MCQs of this topic. So type of the ring that present in the bumetanate. Okay, so the correct answer is the phenyl group. Okay, phenyl group is present in the bumetanate. And the type of the ring present in the structure of the furosemide, that is the furan ring. Okay, furan ring is present in the furosemide drug. And which of the following drugs and their classifications are correct? Furosemide is diuretics, levorphanol, that is cholinesterase inhibitor, codeine, anti-neoplastic drug, phenytoin, that is anticonvulsant. So 1 and 3rd combination, furosemide is diuretics, we already know, and codeine is anti-neoplastic drug. Okay, so this D 1 and 3 is the correct answer. Which among us the following is the therapeutic use of the drug furosemide? So the treatment of the edema, management of the hypertension, and therapy in acute pulmonary edema, or as an anesthetic. So the correct answer is anesthetics. And the mechanism of action of the furosemide includes the inhibition of the sodium potassium chloride co-transporters. Okay, so in this chapter we have already seen the carbonic anhydrase enzyme. Mainly the carbonic anhydrase enzyme we have discussed in this today's topic. Okay, so that carbonic anhydrase enzyme, they are divided into two parts. They are the heterocyclic sulfonamides and disulfonyl benzene derivatives. The example of the heterocyclic sulfonamides are the acetazolamide. Okay, acetazolamide and the methazolamide. Okay, acetazolamide and the methazolamide is the example of the heterocyclic sulfonamide heterocyclic. Okay, and the example of the benzene, sulfonyl benzene, that is dichlorophenamide. And these both drug have the category of the carbonic anhydrase enzymes. Okay, and this carbonic anhydrase enzyme, what they do, the SAR of these drugs are mainly important in the medicinal chemistry. So the SAR of the disulfonyl benzene group means the first position of the sulfonyl group should be unsubstituted. Okay, and the if we are introducing any chloride group, bromide group at the position of the 4th position, that maximize the activity of the diuretic. Okay, diuretic activity is increased when we are introducing any of the chloride atom, bromide atom. Okay, so the activities will be increased, and the replacement of the sulfonyl group at the 1 position, okay, with the with the any carboxyl group, that decreases the activity. Okay, that decreases the activity. So this is the SAR of the meta disulfamyl benzenes. That is the drug we are studied here, dichlorphenamide. Okay, we are studied here dichlorphenamide. And another drug, that is the acetazolamide and the methazolamide. Okay, so in our syllabus we have to learn about the this acetazolamide, methazolamide and dichlorphenamide, and these three drugs coming under in the family of carbonic anhydrase inhibitor, and the acetazolamide as well as the methazolamide, that are coming in the family category of the heterocyclic sulfonamide carboxylic anhydrase inhibitors, and the dichlorphenamide, that is coming under in the category of meta disulfamyl benzene. But these all three drugs are the carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. Okay, these all drugs are the carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. So we will see in our next class the loop diuretics. Okay, we will discuss more about the loop diuretics. In this today's class we have only seen that the carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. Okay, and the examples are acetazolamide, methazolamide, as well as the dichlorphenamide. So these all are the carbonic anhydrase drug, and we have seen the synthesis of the acetazolamide. But in our tomorrow's class we will discuss about the loop diuretics. So I hope everybody understood it very well, how this carbonic anhydrase inhibitor works and what are the examples of the carbonic anhydrase drug, and which component or which substituent is depend on the activity of that drug. Okay, everybody get understood this. So thank you.